If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge?
Well, this is The Merchant of Venice. It's a play by William Shakespeare. And our version is set in 19th century Venice and also a place called Belmont.
What we have in Venice is sort of the merchant culture, where it's buying and selling and people on the streets scurrying around, kind of gritty.
Yeah.
And then in Belmont we have sort of the escape from all that.
Right.
Reply, reply. And fancy dies. You spurned me such a day, another time you called me dog. And for these courtesies I'll lend you thus much moneys.
I am as like to call thee so again, to spit on thee again, to spurn thee too. If thou would lend this money, lend it not as to thy friends, for when did friendship take a breed for barren metal of his friend? But lend it rather to thine enemy, for if he break, thou mayest with better face exact the penalty.
Shylock, a Jewish character.
I need to get a loan from him in order to supply my good friend Bassanio so he can go to the island of Belmont to woo Portia, but Shylock, instead of putting monetary interest on the loan, he instead wants to put a pound of my own flesh.
I will not be made a soft and dull-eyed fool, to shake the head, relent and sigh, and yield to Christian intercessors. Follow not. I will have no speaking. I will have my bond.
I think that the perception from the audience side is like, oh, Shakespeare, here we go again. But the great thing about Lee, especially with his Hamlet from a couple of years ago, is that he makes it extremely accessible for just regular audience members. They'll come in and see something that they've never thought that Shakespeare could ever be.
When he is best, he's a little worse than a man, and when he's worst, he's a little better than a beast. And the worst fool that ever fell, I hope shall make shift to go without him.
I think Shakespeare is one of those, he's that writer that writes the most beautiful poetic language you've ever heard in your life. The challenge is to try to engage people.
If I live to be as old as Sibylla, I will die as chaste as Diana, unless I may be obtained in the manner of my father's will. I am glad this parcel of wooers be so reasonable, for there's not one among them but I dote upon his very absence, and pray God grant them all fair departure.
We try to infuse some life into it by making sure that we all understand the language, we know exactly what we're saying, as opposed to just reading the lines and people in the audience going like, oh, that sounds pretty, but I have no idea what it means. I think you're going to come into the show and think, I know what this show is about. And you're going to leave asking lots of questions, good questions, important questions.
Yeah.
You have among you many a purchased slave, which like your asses and your dogs and your mules, you use in abject and slavish parts because you bought them. What shall I say to you? Shall I say, let them be freed? You will answer, the slaves are ours. So do I answer thus. The pound of flesh which I demand of him is dearly bought, is mine, and I will have it.